That's the verse we were talking about.
I know, but you're saying he didn't I'm not understanding.
I'm saying he didn't go to hell and preach.
You know what Timothy brought up, Isaiah 40, was that 42?
Yeah, 42,
And
7.
that's kind of, plus when he spoke, he said, the Spirit of the Lord is anointed me to do this, and release the captives from prison, whatever. But yeah, that kind of conveys, but now we just jumped on something else. Did he or did he not? Because I remember you saying, Father, into thy hands I commit my spirit.
And I do have some references, I just don't have them in this Bible.
Okay, that's all right. We don't need to bother with that.
But,
We can find that out. But he did say that in the cross. Father, into thy hands I commit my spirit.
But he goes to hell.
So what would you do with something like that?
Paradise. Takes hell to paradise.
Right. But the thing about verse 11, searching what manner of time the Spirit of Christ, which was in them, did signify when you talk about the Spirit of Christ.
Right.
So over in 3, again, the issue in the flesh, but quickened by what?
Spirit.
By the Spirit, by which
By the
also
Spirit.
he went and preached unto the spirits in prison, which sometime were disobedient when once the long-suffering of God waited in the days of Noah while the ark was in preparing, wherein few, that is 8 souls, were saved.
So Peter is saying while the ark was being prepared, the
Right.
Spirit of Christ was at work.
Was preaching then.
Could the ark be the prison that they were?
No, not the ark.
The ark was salvation for them.
I mean, it was a present to the folks in there. They couldn't go nowhere, could they? I mean, it's a...
Okay, but he wasn't preaching to Noah. He's talking about the people who were
We'll get back to
disobedient.
that.
Yeah.
And I'll pull my old Bible out when I get home, because that's been a long time since I...
See some questions we had. We just can't ask.
Couldn't ask just easily, simple.
Do we have to do that? No.
What-
Okay.
In regards to Adam. Is that what I'm saying?
Yes.
That's what the Jehovah's Witnesses asked me. You remember that? They said, was Adam saved? I said, yes, he was.
But you know, you could think when Paul said being found either in Adam or in Christ.
Yeah,
Now,
in
in
Adam
Adam,
is an expression that
for the old sinners.
is defining what is a lost condition.
God clothed them. He clothed them.
He made provision for them.
Yeah. He provided.
And
Now I got a question about that. Father, into thy hands I commit my spirit. If he went, we're going to talk about that. I'd like to hear about that too.
Okay.
Now that's going to have me wondering.
Well, the idea of the Spirit is just the...
But he says into thy hands.
Right. But that doesn't... Over and over, when you read the Old Testament, when a person dies, the Spirit returns unto God.
Okay.
That's the... I don't know how
Okay,
to describe
I
that.
see.
But man is a tripart being.
And part of the Old Testament Psalms, he says, "Thou shalt not leave my soul," and that was actually a reference of Christ.
To his being.
Okay, yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I had to see. I didn't remember.
And there are some other references, by the way, that talks about the Spirit of Christ. That is a reference to Christ doing some things in the Old Testament that he himself personally, it's the Spirit of Christ, which was in me.
Okay.
The word prison there, that's the only thing I need to clarify for you, and I think I've put it in perspective.
Okay.
But I still believe, just from the reading, that he's talking about a past situation.
You know a good verse too. I just want to throw this out here. Pastor Jordan brought it up about right division, how Jesus.
It says in no.
No.
Second
Well.
Corinthians 11.
14.
Okay.
Wait a minute, now. I'm a little slow at trying to read. 14.
It says, and no marvel, forsake himself is transferred into an angel of light. Transformed into an angel of light. It says Satan himself is
Yes.
today. How is that?
The idea there is and everything that's being done is his ministry, I mean, not his ministry, but his work his working isn't going to present to you his real character or his real nature. In other words, Paul talks about deceiving and being deceived. There's a program that's at work. And when the ministry is, like I asked a question, name me one church that's tell you that they're preaching a lie. I mean, I don't know one church that would stand up and say, I'm preaching to you a lie.
Wouldn't it be the fact that he picked up the prophetic program and going on with that?
Well, I think in the context here, as you just read it, and no marvel for Satan himself, go back to verse 13. For such are what?
False apostles.
Deceitful workers, transforming themselves into the apostles of Christ. Now, transforming themselves into the apostles of Christ means that they are trying to present themselves as being, the ones with the right message.
That's true. That's true.
But I mean, they're not. They don't have it, but because they're laying claim to it, they're transforming themselves into it. And that is, even in their preaching and their teaching, they're going to focus on things that's going to make you think that they got the right issues. When you finish reading down at verse 15, therefore it is of no great thing if his ministers also be transformed as the ministers of what?
Righteousness.
See, the focus and emphasis is going to be, they're going to be preaching, there's going to be an issue where you can have people who, what do you hear the holiness preachers always talking about? Only, what's the song they used to sing? None but the righteous shall see God. They sing the song, get right, church, and let's go home.
Get right, church.
Flashback.
Get right, church. Oh, Lord.
You haven't heard that one?
Yeah, hit a flashback.
That's great.
Hit a flashback.
Oh, man. I'm going home on the morning train.
Oh, man, that's right. Evening train might be too late.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a Baptist song.
I'm about to put stuff in it.
But the transforming is just simply the nature and the character of their ministry. They present themselves as being on the right side of the issues, when in fact the things that they're preaching are making people twice as fit for hell, just like the Pharisees.
Gregory Dickon. Excuse me.
Right, so then, so then in that passage, Satan himself, this is not Satan himself like he was in Judas, or this is not him today transforming himself into a Benny Hinn. This is not him doing that.
No.
Okay, because I see the apostles of Christ, that would be thinking that they're the disciples in the kingdom program.
Again, Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light.
They're mimicking him, really.
Right.
Satan himself is.
Right. If Satan has the policy behind which these guys are working, he's the instigator behind it.
Yeah.
So if they're buying his message, then how do they see him? They don't see him as an evil.
They see him as a light.
That's why they can get with his program and go out and promote it, because they don't see him for what he really is.
It seems like he's mimicking God, and they're mimicking him.
And they're mimicking
Because
him.
he's an angel of light, and then
No
they're
wonder
going to...
that his
No wonder,
ministers,
right.
No great thing if his ministers also be transformed as the ministers of, because they're going to follow who they believe to be right, and that's what people do.
Satan
In
always,
general. Today you listen to the preaching today. Who do people? You look at the Benny Hinns and so forth.
Think about it. They would be great in the kingdom. Their message, it would be work. And that's what I'm saying. It would be perfect, and that's what makes it so bad.
But here's what I'm getting at. Take a Benny Hinn and just transfer the imagery. Just say Benny Hinn was Satan. Okay. He transformed himself into what? An angel of light. Now he's got people under him that believe him for who he claimed to be. And what do? They follow his lead.
He's not his apostle.
Right. And that's why you find people who will promote the false teachings and so forth, because that's what Paul is saying, deceiving
And being
and
deceived.
being deceived. And the deceived don't see themselves as being deceived.
Oh,
That's
no,
why I
they
say
don't.
you don't, you'll never find anybody tell you that they're telling you a lie. They honestly, and when I say honestly,
Sincerely.
they sincerely believe what they're preaching. I mean, they've bought into it.
I said, yeah, they
Now,
would talk.
there are some who just realize it just, there's some things that are just false. Deceiving and being deceived. When you're in the position of deceiving, you know something is wrong. You know something is not right. You know something is not true. And well, that's Satan. Satan knows the program he's promoting is not true. He may want it to be true,
Yeah.
but he
He's
knows it's not true.
That's his mind.
Yeah. And you can't tell me that the Benny Hinn's don't know what they're doing.
They know.
Right.
They know.
And that's when deceiving puts you in a worse position than being deceived.
I know that.
You
Yeah.
see.
Being deceived, you can, but when you consciously,
When you consciously and actively, and that's what Satan does. Satan, there's no doubt in Satan's mind about the outcome of things.
Sure.
But he's deceived. He deceived himself, but he's deceiving people to think it's going to be any different than what God has said.
See?
Going through the growth.
I personally don't think Satan is in, he has as much access or observation as God would allow him to the extent, but the nature and the character of the dispensation of grace doesn't allow for Satan's presence in the earth or in the world in the manner in which we see him in the kingdom program.
He's the prince of the power of the air.
Okay, right. The nature and the character of the dispensation of grace does not allow for Satan's presence in the earth and in the manner in which he was in the earth in time past,
Mike made a good point. He's called the prince
in the power of the air.
the prince of the power of the air.
Right.
Yeah, right now.
So his influence is not in terms of this demon possession.
No.
Right.
So that he's still on, his influence is still in the earth,
It's
but it's not in that form.
And his influence goes all the way back to Genesis 3.
Right.
In other words, he didn't have to reinvent the wheel once Genesis 3
Just set
foundation
the ball
was laid.
rolling, right?
It was set in motion.
Yeah.
Men buy into that mentality. There's a spirit of the world, and then there's a spirit which is of God. There's a spirit of truth, and then there's a spirit of truth. Once Satan's lie was advanced, it's out there in all the different facets in which it would manifest itself in shape. Doesn't require him
Yeah.
to instigate it
So sin
directly.
is not under the results of sin, all the evil, debauchery, whatever that stuff is.
It's
That
not
is
all-
not a direct,
It's not all Satan.
it's not all Satan.
It can be
He
a-
put it out there.
He
and
put it out
everybody
there.
else took it.
Going to demonstrate the devil isn't behind all the problems and the ills of man.
Because once he's in prison, this stuff is still going to
Still
go
going
on.
on.
And the man will know that it's him that's
Man's
doing it.
nature.
And has been doing it all
Right.
along.
We always say the devil, Flip Wilson made that real popular.
Right, the devil made me do it.
Yeah.
So
And
he's
people-
not roaming back and forth
So all
like
these
he was
people
in
running around
Tom
here
Job.
combing after now saying they demon possessed, they just got epilepsy, right?
Yeah, yes, absolutely.
That's the sin nature.
That's what I told
Yeah.
you. Somebody, I know my wife, she was saying there's spirits of this, that, and the other, spirit of lust, spirit of whatever.
Spirit of
I said,
alcohol, spirit of cigarettes.
I said, no.
Yeah, you
I
got a
said,
bad spirit.
I said it's
spirit
just the sin nature of man. That's what you blame it on. Christ, he'll fix that too. He'll fix that. Because see, we want to say, oh, it's something else. It's not.
I know the devil made me do it.
Well, see, that's the one thing. Look at 2 Corinthians, Ephesians, not 2, Colossians. I get it right.
Second Colossians?
Colossians chapter 2. And we can entertain questions, because I was in fact going to give you a chance to just talk with me tonight. Questions that you
My
may be...
mom's been reading Bible. I like to have a praise report. Is that what they say?
Yeah.
Praise report. She was asking, she read Ecclesiastes.
I was reading Ecclesiastics and they kept talking about vanity, vanity, vanity. And it was like, I kept reading it over and over and I'm like,